I don't know if the biggest percentage is going to be on the Bills Thursday night, but it could be the Seahawks, who are 7.5-point favorites hosting the New Orleans Saints. Here again is the updated Circa Survivor through 2 weeks, historicals, the 6 years of Circa Survivor. Look at this year, through 2 full weeks. Last year, 72.8% of all entries eliminated through 2 weeks. This year, a record low, and by far, 9.36% through 2 weeks. That's it.
What's my intrinsic value up to that? Did I gain another $100 last night or something?
I'm glad you asked,
like
Kelly.
$72 last night tack on there?
Oh, you ready?
Yeah, what we got?
All right, you're going to need security out of here.
I'm selling 49% of my entry.
$1,000 per entry. Now, actual retail value of each and every one of your entries, $1,103.27.
Cash out.
Chop it.
Chop it.
Still 16,966 entries left. That is more than started Circa Survivor last year.
If you could organize a chop at this point in Circa Survivor, you would have accomplished the greatest feat in humanity ever.
Hey, Jeff Benson, could you put us in touch with everybody? Could you connect everybody for a chop? Okay, so as far as week 3, people seem to like this last week when I did, here are the 8 biggest spreads, here are the 4 I won't consider, here are the 4 I will. And by the way, of those 8, all 7 of the 8 got through. The only one that didn't was the Vikings. And I said that was one of my 4 that I wouldn't consider. This week, there are 7 larger spreads than the others, not 8, because the 8th, Washington, is no longer a big spread because of the Jaden Daniels uncertainty. So of the 7 that remain of the biggest spreads on the board, Kelly, here are the 4 that I am not considering playing. The Baltimore Ravens are 6-point favorites against the Detroit Lions. I almost said Tigers. Baltimore Ravens, 6-point favorites against the Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions are good at football. That's the first thing. And you have other opportunities that are better to use the Ravens if you still have them. If you didn't use them last week, that is. Or if you have multiple entries and you only used them on some, and you can consider them in the first place. The Ravens play the Bears at home week 8. They're also at Miami week 9. So those, to me, are both better than playing the Lions this week. Mm-hmm. And oh, by the way, this Thanksgiving game that they are playing, and remember, for Circa players, they host the Bengals on Thanksgiving. Before this past week, I had said, well, I'm going to shove all on the Eagles the day after Thanksgiving because the Eagles host the Bears. But now with Jake Browning versus Joe Burrow, despite all the lovely things we said about Jake Browning, maybe if you still have Ravens availability, maybe you do consider playing the Ravens on Thanksgiving now. And so I would not play the Ravens this week. The Packers are 8-point favorites at Cleveland, Kelly. There's a number of times to me that are better to play the Packers. Most notably, perhaps, week 9 hosting Carolina, week 11 at the Giants, week 14 hosting the Bears. I mean, there's lots of chances that are perhaps better than this to use the Packers. So I'm not going to play them here at Cleveland, though some may still opt to. Atlanta Falcons, who are now 5-point favorites at Carolina. I mean, I just have to they play a home game against Carolina later in the year, right? And a home game against New Orleans, although that game, who knows if it will have, will the implications mean that the Falcons will have to sit players or will have the luxury of sitting players, just projecting forward. They also have a home game against the Dolphins week 8. So I don't love this as a road game to play in Survivor. And then the fourth one that is of the bigger spreads that I am not going to play, Kansas City Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites at the Giants. For Circa players, they are at Dallas Thanksgiving, and they host the Broncos on Christmas. Maybe those are considerations for you because maybe by then the Chiefs will be back to being the Chiefs. They'll have Worthy, they'll have Rashee Rice. They'll be a different team.
I was going to say, not only is it the holiday, hang on for the holidays, but you can't tell me the Chiefs are playing their best football of the season right now.
Can we go back to that, guys, one last second before I just want to finish that graphic real quick before we move on to the ones I am considering. And the Chiefs have other times to play, right? Week 7, they host the Raiders. Week 12, they host the Colts. Apologies to Colts fans. Week 16, they're at Tennessee. So there's Thanksgiving, there's Christmas. They're just not at full strength now. They just don't have enough weapons to confidently play them. So those are 4 big spreads: Ravens, Packers, Falcons, Chiefs. I'm not going to play. The 3 I am considering, and like last week, I will say my Survivor allocation with my 6 entries will come from this group. Don't know what the divvying up will be, but it will come from these 3 teams in some form. The Buffalo Bills, Thursday night, 12.5-point favorites, so the biggest favorite on the board. They're hosting the Miami Dolphins. Short week. Does it scare me a little more than it should? Probably. Do I think the Bills should be less of a favorite than they are? Yes, as described on Guessing Lines yesterday. But, and they have other games that perhaps are more fun for some. Week 4, next week, in fact, versus New Orleans. Week 8 at Carolina, week 16 at Cleveland, maybe other considerations. But it's still comfortable enough for me to play some of my entries on the Bills.
Good thing they get extra rest before that Saints game.
That's right.
It's going to be a tough 2 weeks.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe I play some of them. Maybe I play some of them next week against the Saints, okay? But the Bills are definitely going to be part of this. The other two, Tampa Bay, 7-point favorites against the Tyrod Taylor-led Jets, perhaps, if Justin Fields doesn't get out of protocol. Even though Tampa Bay has at New Orleans week 8, home New England week 10, home New Orleans week 14, and then a Carolina home game, which who knows if Tampa Bay will need to suit up for that one or not. I do think that there is some allocation of my entries. Some are going to be on the Bucs. By the way, by some, maybe I'm talking about one of them. Maybe I'm talking about two of them. But I do think this is an opportunity to use the Buccaneers.
Yeah, they're only one of two teams I'll be considering this week.
Okay, the third is the Seattle Seahawks. And when it comes to future value, this is the team that makes the most sense. I think I don't know if the biggest percentage is going to be on the Bills Thursday night, but it could be the Seahawks, who are 7.5-point favorites hosting the New Orleans Saints. Really, there's only another home game versus Minnesota, which might not please some folks as being easier. And then there's an at Carolina all the way December 28th. So hosting New Orleans here, I think Seattle is going to be the most popular pick, and so maybe optimally you want to stay off them with most of your entries if you have multiple and play Tampa instead.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at zero cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.